Coming up on Juice and Java, details on the mass shooting that took place just blocks away from SU.
And find out how my car almost got towed when Morgan and I toured a luxury apartment.
Plus, we have correspondents in the studio to talk about the Emmys.
Juice and Java starts right now. Good morning, and thanks for starting your morning with us. I'm Zach Allen.
And I'm Morgan Trau. The city of Syracuse is reeling after a mass shooting occurred blocks from campus on Thursday night. CitrusTV was live on the scene shortly after to report on what was happening.
Our reporter Greg Bradbury was part of that team, and he's here in studio to fill us in on all the details. Greg?
Yeah, guys, well, the night started out as a celebration of life for a family member who had passed away early Thursday morning of cancer. That celebration came to an abrupt end shortly after 9 o'clock when police received a 911 call, reporting that multiple shots had been fired in the family's yard on the 1300 block of Midland Avenue. Now, this is to the southwest of campus on the west side of I-81. However, no DPS or orange alert was sent out to students. A neighbor from across the street described there being anywhere from 10 to 20 gunshots. In total, 5 people were shot, including an 8-year-old girl. Now, those 5 victims were immediately rushed to Upstate Medical Center emergency room. Currently, all of the victims are in stable condition, and we know that at least one of them has been released from the hospital. I was live outside of the hospital on Thursday nights as family, friends, and neighbors eagerly awaited news from inside the hospital. That news came around midnight as a family member came out and said that everyone is doing great in there and one had a successful surgery, but that they are still hurting.
They all came out, they're doing pretty good, and we're thankful for that. And hopefully they'll be out of hospital soon, because we're victims and we're hurting. Our family is hurting.
Now, while I awaited the news with those outside of the hospital, I talked to a number of residents and now from the community about the incident. Many described it as a tragedy, but with a bright spot. That bright spot being Mayor Ben Walsh's appearance after the shooting.
And the Mayor Walsh did come out and console, and it's the first time a mayor has ever done that in the city of Syracuse that I know. And he said that those people are family
Other residents
members.
echoed that message. Mayor Walsh was at the scene of the shooting and discussed the senseless violence that took place.
But make no mistake, this senseless violence impacts the entire community. And it's just that, it's senseless.
Now, this wasn't the only shooting that took place on Thursday night in Syracuse. About an hour after the Midland shooting, there was just another shooting a few blocks north on Furman Avenue, where a 14-year-old was injured. As of right now, it is unknown if the two incidents are related. However, the shootings prompted a vigil to take place last night in the south side of Syracuse. The Midland Avenue shooting had the most victims in a shooting in Syracuse this year. The goal of the vigil was to support the families that have endured the violence and stop the violence from taking place throughout the community. Now, right now, the Syracuse police have spent all of Thursday night into Friday morning combing through the scene for evidence. The police tape was lifted at 8 in the morning yesterday, and as of right now, Syracuse Police Chief Frank Fowler says that there are no immediate suspects and no motive has been established yet. The Syracuse Police will be holding a press conference tonight at 5. CitrusTV News will have the latest updates on all the new developments. With that, Zach and Morgan, back to you guys.
Thanks, Greg. An incredibly sad story. We obviously hope for some closure for the family as the police investigation continues.
And after the break, we covered this week's top headlines.
Stay with us.
Leaving hot coals improperly extinguished can cause a wildfire.
Hey guys, it's Smokey!
It looks as if Smokey is going to use the drown, stir, drown and feel technique After the first drown, a good start. Next, another drink. And finally, a close feel.
Is it cool? Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Smokey, catch. Oh, my bad, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving. The ultimate party foul.
President Trump? At least one person in the administration wanted to remove him of that title. According to a New York Times article published yesterday, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein proposed to secretly record President Trump in an effort to invoke the 25th Amendment. He suggested this in the spring of 2017, shortly after FBI Director James Comey was fired. Rosenstein's goal was to demonstrate that the president was unfit to serve. He made these remarks to a number of officials in the FBI and Justice Department. The Justice Department officials have since come out and said that Rosenstein was simply joking when he brought it up. Meanwhile, Rosenstein is disputing the story, calling it inaccurate and factually incorrect.
You know, I was so surprised when I read this story because I thought 3 months ago he would have been fired for making those comments.
Yeah, and you know, it just seems very childish, almost like a high school girlfriend checking her boyfriend's cell phone to see what other girls he's texting. And
luckily, in Washington, D.C., they have this law where if you record somebody, you don't need their permission, but you would have to keep it to your personal self. You wouldn't be able to do anything with it, and you wouldn't be able to give it to the press. So I'm not really sure why he wanted to record, but I guess we'll find out once the investigation continues.
And he came out and said that he never pursued the recording, so I don't know what to think.
Just last week, it seemed certain that Judge Brett Kavanaugh would sit on the highest court in the country. Now the country wants to know if Christine Blasey Ford will testify about the accusations of sexual assault against him. The Senate Judiciary Committee has extended the Friday night deadline to decide if she will testify. The new deadline is unclear. Otherwise, the committee will go ahead with voting on Kavanaugh's nomination. Ford accuses Kavanaugh of trying to rape her while they were both in high school. Kavanaugh has denied the allegations and has added that he wants the hearing as soon as possible so he can clear his name. President Trump weighed in on the events on Twitter, saying that Kavanaugh is a great person and that people should be fighting for him.
And I said, we have to fight for him, not worry about the other side. And by the way, women are for that more than anybody would understand. And a really good guy.
Look, Morgan, how many red flags do we need to realize, hey, maybe we should go in a different direction? I mean, we already know that he's very conservative and probably know which way he's going to vote if he does get nominated. And now this, I mean, it really seems obvious that there's got to be other candidates out there that we could push for to have in place.
Exactly. The most surprising part for me is that Trump actually took to social media to make all of these claims and to allege that we don't even know if the accusation is real and that we need to wait. A president doing that is irresponsible, and I guess we will have to wait and see what happens.
And in fact, the GOP aide resigned, the one that covered this nomination this morning. Now, tensions between the two Koreas might finally be easing. The leaders of both countries signed a commitment to an era of no war in a meeting on Wednesday. North Korea decided they would close a missile testing facility and even potentially destroy their nuclear complex if the United States is agreeing to corresponding measures. The agreement vows to cease all hostile acts against each other and also remove guard posts along the demilitarized zone by the end of the year. The South Korean president will be traveling to the United States to meet with President Trump on Tuesday.
You know, this is a huge step. This is a great step for both the Koreas. And, you know,
Absolutely.
Kim would be the first ever sitting North Korean leader to ever visit South Korea. And I think that that's amazing.
Right, and all this is coming after the two countries united to compete in the 2018 Summer Olympics. And now they just said that they put in a bid for the 2032 Summer Olympics to host it together. And it just really seems like they're moving in the right direction finally. And you said that President Kim Jong-un said that he wants to go to Seoul, South Korea by the end of this year.
Yep, so I guess we'll have to wait and see what really happens. But in other news, trying to weed out the best soda company, Coca-Cola might have the edge. Coke is exploring drinks that would be infused with cannabis. This marijuana would not be intended to make you high, but rather serve as a pain reliever. Coke is looking into connections with the Aurora Cannabis Company, prompting widespread speculation as to what the partnership would lead to. The cannabis business has been booming recently, and it's leading many companies to make similar connections. At least 2 different beer companies have been in talks with other cannabis companies.
Now, the interesting part about this, Morgan, is that you have to be 21 to actually buy these drinks, so it's almost the same as alcohol. And there's already drink companies out there that are doing this. There's energy drinks, frappuccinos, pumpkin spice lattes, I've heard. And so it's, as far as a business standpoint, this is a fantastic idea on Coke's end.
Yeah, and I think definitely for a health standpoint, like my sister, she has a chronic illness, and this is definitely going to help her because she loves Diet Coke, and she's been trying not to drink it as much because it's not good for you. But because she's learning that there's going to be cannabis infused potentially, like she's very excited and looking forward to it.
It'll be interesting to see how that plays out, especially because you do have to be 21 to buy it, so
Yes.
It's not just going to be available at Price Chopper or Wegmans. Now, officials in New York City say that 3 babies and 2 adults were stabbed at a daycare yesterday morning. Currently, the babies aged from 3 days to a month old, and the 2 adults stabbed are in critical but stable condition. The person responsible for the stabbing was an employee at the unlicensed daycare center. After trying to kill the baby, she proceeded to try to take her own life. Police said the 52-year-old suspect was taken to the hospital after slitting her own wrists and is now in police custody. The motive of the attack is unknown at this time.
So this is so sad because parents already don't feel comfortable leaving their children with people they don't really know. And so I feel like this will just exacerbate everything, and this will just make people so much more cautious about leaving their children with people who might actually be responsible.
It's just a heartbreaking story to come out this week amongst other bad news, and it's sad because it almost just feels like these bad stories are piling up on top of each other and trying to one-up each other, you know, and it's just, it's sad to see. It really is.
And well, luckily these people are in stable condition. However, that was not the case in this story. Developments just keep unraveling in the case of the double homicide at the Chili's restaurant in DeWitt last Saturday morning. 5 people in total have been arrested in relation to the murders. 2 Chili's employees were shot to death when a former employee, William Wood Jr., opened fire and robbed the store. The man who drove Wood to the restaurant was also arrested with an additional charge of endangering a child. His 2-year-old son was in the backseat of the car at the time. 2 others were arrested, Ryan Brown for misleading police and Brown's mother, Tracy, for providing the gun. The 5th person was arrested for illegally selling the gun to Tracy in the first place.
Now, the DeWitt DA came out on Monday and said that his motive wasn't even the murder. It was about robbing the store and then eliminating all the witnesses. And the reason that he chose Chili's was because he worked there. And so he knew what their plan was. He knew when to go. And thankfully, his gun jammed after he shot the 2 people. So there were 2 other people in the store. And so at least we can thank our stars that their lives were saved simply by that gun jamming.
Oh yes, 100%.
Now, when we come back, looking for housing next semester, we looked into some options ourselves so you don't have to.
Stay with us.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
Did you hear about the pony with a sore throat? He was a little horse. Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding. Why couldn't the Wait. Why was the basketball court all wet? Why? Because the players kept dribbling all over it. Where do cats go on vacation? New York.
I see you mobbing over her. Let's go. Let's mob. Let's crawl. let's crawl. Let's crawl. Hey, yo, we mobbing. Come on, girl. Let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Hey, let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl.
Welcome back to Juice and Java, and as October approaches, that means that students are looking for where they're going to be living next year, as crazy as that sounds. And so today we're at Theory, which really brings it back full circle for you, right, Morgan?
Yeah, basically, when I did my first segment on Juice and Java, I did a tour of a bunch of different apartments that were being built, and this happened to be one of them. So glad to be back here. It's very exciting.
Awesome. Well, let's go check it out.
So we're out here in the courtyard. We're probably the first people to be out here because construction was still going on until this week when students were moving in. So it is amazing.
Almost a race between Theory and the Marshall to get done. And as you walk out here, I mean, I love this beautiful open concept, you know, and there's a nice hot tub, plenty of balconies and grills. I mean, the only downside is that this place is not that close to campus.
But there is a shuttle that can take you back and forth. You just got to know the schedule. Well, Zach, it looks like you kind of broke out in a sweat. Did you go to the sauna?
Yeah, really funny story, actually. We were just shooting our last bit, and I look out, and Morgan noticed that my car was getting towed. So then I had to run around the block, find a $20 bill, and then go pay the guy so that my car didn't get towed. So really funny story. But thankfully, this apartment finally has some air conditioning. It feels good in here. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff in here that's very nice.
Yeah, there are granite countertops. There are everything was fully furnished. There's 9-foot ceilings. It's beautiful in here. There's wood-style floors, and
it's very modern too. I mean, this place looks awesome. Let's go check out one of the bedrooms. All right, so I mean, this is a very large bedroom. And you got a beautiful view of that amazing courtyard down there and the hot tub, and it came fully furnished. What do you think?
I think it's beautiful. And I mean, there are bathrooms that are attached fully, and then there's laundry that's built in here. I know that I wish that I had that because laundry's in the basement in my building, and you have to pay for it.
And it eats your quarters sometimes, too.
Yeah, it eats all of my quarters.
Worst.
I always have to bring down an extra $3 in quarters, which is not easy to get.
So let's make a quick pros and cons list of Theory. So pro, everything that you would want, need, desire in an apartment.
It's here.
It's absolutely here. And it's closed for, you said, comm design majors?
Yeah, comm design majors, and I definitely think theater students, this would definitely be the place to live for you because, I mean, it's right by the Syracuse stage, and it's also by the warehouse, so it's much closer to downtown than anywhere on campus.
But that's also the big con, is that it is a little bit far. Like, if you want to go to DJ's, it's a little bit of a walk, you know? So, but we had a great time coming to Theory, and Juice and Java will be right back.
Hey, look, it's those guys. Are you good to drive?
I'm fine.
How many did you have?
I should be fine.
You should be?
Go and step out of the vehicle for me.
See ya, buddy. Good luck. So turns out, buzz driving and drunk driving, they're the same thing, and it costs around $10,000. So not worth it.
They told me a bottle couldn't dream. That I would never become a superhero. But I learned how to fly. Just to come back in a new disguise. And be the hero that I've always wanted to be.
Last week we talked about the typhoon that hit the Philippines as well as Hong Kong.
Many are still recovering from the storm's devastating effects, and among those people are a group of SU students studying abroad in Hong Kong.
Morning correspondent Landon Wexler is in studio to talk to us about the typhoon and how it affected Syracuse students.
Thanks, guys. Last Saturday, Super Typhoon Mangkhut ravaged the Philippines and Hong Kong. Now, thousands are feeling the effects. A branch of Syracuse University's Study Abroad program is located in Hong Kong, and I spoke to SU Whitman Jr., Kristen Wong, who is studying over in Hong Kong this semester. She explained just how scary her experience was.
But like when it came, it was pretty, I don't want to say intense, but it was kind of scary because you could hear all the wind outside and the building was swaying a little bit. If you're on the higher floors, like you could feel the building sway.
As far as how well Wong felt SU Hong Kong handled the situation, she says they kept up to date with all the students and in touch with the program heads the entire storm.
Program head was like WhatsApping us during the storm, giving us updates and everything, and yeah, she was really good about, you know, letting us know what's happening, anything we needed to do, and it was actually crazy. People got stuck in the elevator during the storm.
Wong says classes were canceled the Monday following the storm. Elsewhere in the affected areas, recovery has not been that easy. Typhoon Mangkhut, known as Typhoon Mangkhut in the Philippines, was the largest storm on this planet this year and is called the most intense storm to ever hit the city of Hong Kong. The death toll is expected to rise as rescue crews search through the dirt, rubble, and broken glass of buildings, none of whom are Syracuse students. The storm originally made landfall in the northern Philippines with the strength of a Category 5 hurricane. Once Mangkhut had been heading towards China, Hong Kong's observatory issued an extremely rare signal 10 on its scale ranging from 1 to 10. So, for students in SU and elsewhere, be safe. Classes are back up and running for our Hong Kong students, and recovery efforts are underway through the Philippines and throughout Hong Kong. If you're looking to help, here's what to do. The American Red Cross is a great option as they issued a statement saying they are prepared to respond to the typhoon. There are also other charities helping, like Oxfam, Global Giving, and CARE. You can find many other ways to give and many other charities at charitynavigator.org. Thank you guys, and back to you.
Thank you, Landon. Our hearts go out to all those affected by the typhoon.
Coming up, Juice and Java correspondent Lilia Wood fills us in on the 2018 Emmys.
Keep it here.
I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for information on how to provide even better care for the person who wants to.
This year was the most competitive television season yet, which made the Emmys even more suspenseful. Our morning correspondent, Lilia Wood, is here with all of the highlights on television's biggest night of the year.
Thanks, guys. The Television Academy celebrated the 7th Emmy Awards on Monday night. The evening was hosted by SNL stars Colin Jost and Michael Che, who used their beginning monologue to poke fun at the #MeToo movement, Roseanne Barr, and the Emmys itself.
Here sharing this night with the many, many talented and creative people in Hollywood who haven't been caught yet. Also, while you guys are here, how is Netflix getting all that money? It's like $9 a month, and everybody I know is sharing the same account.
As the night continued, Amazon's original series, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, won 8 Emmys, including Best Comedy Series, the first streaming series to win that category. The star of the show, Rachel Brosnahan, used her acceptance speech for Best Actress in a Comedy Series to share the message of the show.
It's about a woman who's finding her voice anew, and it's something that's happening all over the country right now. One of the most important ways that we can find and use our voices is to vote.
And what's the Emmys without an appearance from Betty White? The 96-year-old received a standing ovation as she took the stage for a tribute to her over 80 years of dedication to TV. Some refer to her as the First Lady of television.
I heard her talking to her daughter a little later, and she said, well, First Lady, yeah, she's that old. She was the first one way back there.
The night ended with Game of Thrones winning Outstanding Drama Series and taking home the most trophies. Yet, people are saying the show did not deserve this award for the underwhelming season and only received it by default. Now, for my personal favorite moment of the Emmys, the proposal. Oscar director Glenn Weiss began his acceptance speech by honoring his mother, who passed away just 2 weeks earlier. But then, his speech took an unexpected turn and caught the entire audience off guard, in a good way.
You are the sunshine in my life. And Mom was right, don't ever let go of your sunshine. You wonder why I don't like to call you my girlfriend? Because I want to call you my wife.
And you're probably wondering, what is his plan if he didn't win? Weiss told reporters that he was going to ask her at In-N-Out Burger afterwards. Clearly, the next best option to a national broadcast.
Truly an unbelievable story coming out of the Emmys. But you said Glenn Weiss almost knows better than to pull a stunt like this?
Yeah, so he is, as he won the award for, he's the director of the Oscars. So he knows how the timing goes, and he knows that he was messing up part of the timing of the Emmys to do this whole thing with his wife. But everyone said it was like the best moment and the highlight, so I think it was worth it.
Yeah, those reaction faces, like people zoomed in.
Yeah, and his family, he never told his daughters that he was gonna do this, which was kind of, they were like, wait, like we're so happy for you, but like why weren't we part of the plan? So it was like the biggest secret, and like it was broadcasted on national television.
Well, I'm sure she's glad that it didn't happen in In-N-Out Burger.
Yeah, I know.
Double animal style.
So I'm glad he won.
Side of a proposal, absolutely. Crazy.
Too funny.
Now, funny stat, you mentioned Betty White.
Yeah.
Now, she popped up. I love Betty White, big Betty White fan. Crazy stat for you. Do you think sliced bread is older or Betty White is older?
Because you said that, I'm gonna have to go with Betty White's older.
Betty White is actually 7 years older than sliced bread, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, I know, absolutely insane. Who else do you think stole the show at the Emmys?
I think Betty White was the main person because the standing ovation, but then again, as I mentioned, Rachel Brosnahan, the entire Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and it's the fact that Amazon and Netflix got more than any other broadcast station. It's kind of being like streaming is kind of taking over broadcast television. And I know even the host, they kind of poked at the idea that broadcast television in 5 years is like not even going to be a thing anymore. So it's that whole idea that they took over, and Marvelous Mrs. Maisel was amazing, and everyone thinks it's the funniest show. Produced by the same people as Gilmore Girls and written by them, which is super cool.
So what are you most excited to see this fall?
This fall, I don't know. I'm not the biggest television person, but as these things are coming out, like I'm like, oh wait, Game of Thrones. I've never even seen it, and people said that this was the final season and the worst season, everyone's saying. So I don't know if they deserved it or not, but I'm excited to see the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Lilia, thank you so much. Always great to have you on the show.
That's all we have this morning for Juice and Java.
Make sure to check us out on CitrusTV News, on social media, and our website. I'm Zach Allen.
And I'm Morgan Trau. Have a great day, Syracuse.